Up to 2 billion Christians around the world gather together every Sunday in honor of the resurrection of Jesus Christ to worship God. They call Sunday the Lord's Day or the Christian Sabbath. But did you know that not one scripture in the Bible calls Sunday the Lord's Day or the Sabbath? The fourth commandment in the Decalogue mandates the observance of the seventh day of the week as the Sabbath, which corresponds to our Saturday. Exodus chapter 20 verses 8 through 10 tells us, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work." God never repealed this commandment, even after the establishment of the new covenant. In fact, after the death of Jesus, which confirmed the new covenant, some of Jesus' closest disciples continued observing the seventh-day Sabbath. Luke chapter 23 verse 56 tells us, "Then they returned and prepared spices and fragrant oils, and they rested on the Sabbath according to the commandment." Some Bible teachers claim that the seventh-day Sabbath was for the Jews, and Gentile converts were expected to keep Sunday holy. But if that's the case, why did the Gentiles request to hear the Apostle Paul's preaching on the Sabbath? After Paul preached the gospel at a synagogue in Antioch, Acts chapter 13 verse 42 tells us, "So when the Jews went out of the synagogue, the Gentiles begged that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath." Obviously, they recognized the necessity of continuing to keep this commandment. So if the Bible doesn't endorse the change of the Sabbath and Jesus' disciples kept the Sabbath, what happened between New Testament times and now that led Christians to start keeping Sunday holy instead of Saturday? And why does it matter? That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video as I reveal the shocking history of the Sabbath, how it was changed from Saturday to Sunday. But before I do that, I want to thank Forever Free Scriptures to Music for sponsoring this video. Forever Free Scriptures to Music is a Christian YouTube channel that creates scripture songs taken directly from the Bible. These beautiful songs facilitate Bible memorization, are spiritually uplifting, and can enhance your worship experience. Here's a short clip from one of their recent uploads entitled, "I Have Kept the Faith," based on 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 through 8.
I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith.
Scan the QR code that you see on the screen or click on the link in the video description to subscribe to Forever Free Scriptures to Music and check out some more of their videos today. Now back to my video. The earliest records that we have of Christians honoring Sunday comes from extra-biblical sources like the Didache or early church fathers, such as Ignatius of Antioch, Barnabas, and Justin Martyr. In terms of the Didache, the word Didache means teaching in Greek. The full title of the Didache is Didache Kyriake, which means the teaching of the 12 apostles. Now, most scholars don't think the 12 apostles actually wrote the Didache, rather, they believe the title is more of a traditional or symbolic attribution. However, the Didache offers insights into the early Christian community, and it talks about gathering together on the Lord's Day. Didache chapter 14 verse 1 states, "But every Lord's day do ye gather yourselves together, and break bread, and give thanksgiving, after having confessed your transgressions, that your sacrifice may be pure." Now, in a previous video of mine, I said that the Didache also calls the Lord's Day the first day of the week, but after further research, I discovered I was wrong. That's what I get for listening to ChatGPT and not double-checking its info. I've been using AI to help me research my videos quicker, and it's pretty good most of the time, but you have to remember to double-check it too, because sometimes the information it provides is not completely accurate. So the Didache doesn't actually call the Lord's Day the first day of the week. Now, this could be a reference to Sunday, and if it is, it's probably the earliest record of Sunday keeping among Christians, but one could also argue that the Lord's Day in the Didache is in reference to the seventh-day Sabbath, since John the Apostle called the seventh-day Sabbath the Lord's Day in Revelation chapter 1 verse 10, stating, "I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard behind me a loud voice as of a trumpet." John could not have been referring to Sunday as the Lord's Day, since the Bible never calls the first day of the week the Lord's Day. So the only logical conclusion is that he was talking about the seventh-day Sabbath. And that is in harmony with Jesus' words in Mark chapter 2 verse 28, stating, "Therefore the Son of Man is also Lord of the Sabbath." If Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath day, that means the Lord's Day is the Sabbath. However, Ignatius of Antioch, in the letter to the Magnesians, dated around 110 to 117 AD, wrote, "If therefore those who were brought up in the ancient order of things have come to the possession of a new hope, no longer observing the Sabbath, but living in the observance of the Lord's Day, on which also our life has sprung up again by him and by his death." Here we see a definite shift from observing the seventh-day Sabbath to the Lord's Day in the Christian community. Justin Martyr, in his first apology, written around 155 to 157 AD, wrote, "And on the day called Sunday, all who live in cities or in the country gather together to one place, and the memoirs of the apostles or the writings of the prophets are read, as long as time permits." One of the reasons this shift may have happened is because as the Christian church began to grow, it wanted to establish a distinct identity apart from the Jews, as a result of tensions between the Jewish and Christian communities. The early Christian church experienced systematic persecution by the Jews. You can read about that in the book of Acts. For example, in Acts chapter 4 verses 1 through 3, the Sadducees arrest and imprison the apostle Peter and John. In Acts chapter 7, the disciple Stephen is stoned by a crowd of Jews, with Saul, who was a Pharisee at the time, consenting to Stephen's death. And after Saul converted and became known as the apostle Paul, he faced various persecutions at the hands of the Jews. In one instance, in Acts chapter 14, they attempted to stone him to death, but he miraculously survived.